For
Got it.
speaking to us. It's still Katya. You look fabulous. If you're doing at home schooling, bless your heart. It's
We're back at it. We thought this was behind us.
we're gonna
And
get through it, take a lot of lunch breaks. So let's talk about your film some more. I took some time as I was pondering this, and I thought about this is a fabulous time for Black women directors because you're getting an opportunity to tell different types of stories. And one of the things I loved is a lot of them were just cheering for you and were like, "Yay, she's doing this!" So how does it feel? Because you now had a group of women, not just Black women, but women, period, to be like, "Oh, what do I do? How do I proceed? Who to hire?" and that type of stuff.
well, it feels really good because, for so long, our stories have been told through the eyes of men, because women just, I would say in the last 15 years, have really stepped into their power as writers, producers, directors, and, option as actors, we option books and stories to sort of put our stories out there on the screen. So it feels really good, to be living in these times where this is actually realized, because I tell you, 20 years ago, I didn't know if I would see this day in my lifetime. Sometimes evolution can be so slow. So the fact that we are having this opportunity it's a really exciting time, and it's a time that we have to seize. We have to step into this power. We have to face the fear, even if we've never done it. You know what? Do it. Try it. You're surely going to fail if you don't try. So I tell everyone I know, so what if you haven't done it? Figure it out. Do it. Dare to try. And then you're really living, because we have to seize this moment right now.
Absolutely. Let's also delve into Jackie. We meet Jackie, and she is, putting it politely, a hot mess. Even in that moment where you're just like, "Oh, Lord," there's a humanity to her because she knows it's not okay. Well, she wouldn't be using the squirt bottle. But at the same time, you see a person underneath all that brokenness. What was it like to film that scene? Because, it's easy to be able to judge, but at the same time, in that moment, you did, via your facial expressions, just sitting on that kitchen floor, your body language was like, "I want to do better, but I don't know how."
Yeah, I think that's the first thing I do whenever I portray a character. I never judge them. I never judge the humanity in any character. We are all products of the love, or we got or didn't get, the parenting we received or we didn't receive, what our download was from our parents or our family of origin, be it nurture or nature, right? So I never judge any character, and I certainly didn't want to judge Jackie Justice. She was a fractured, broken, deeply complicated woman, but at the core of her, I always knew there was a good human being. I believe most people are good human beings who are fractured and broken and flawed. And so that's how I approached Jackie. And I wanted to find all of her goodness, but also not be afraid to express her flaws, because I think that's what makes her relatable, because we're all flawed and we love to see ourselves reflected, but we love to see ourselves also rise up out of that brokenness and offer a path forward. We also want to connect to that too. And that's what makes these kinds of movies, I think, so triumphant, when we see someone really struggling with their brokenness, their fractured bits and pieces, and their humanity, and wanting to do better and fighting hard against the odds to do better. And so we find Jackie in the beginning of the story very broken and struggling to put her pieces back together. And little by little, we go on the journey with her, and we see her put one foot in front of the other and her pieces back together.
Absolutely. I also love that her trainer was a woman, but in a completely different woman. Budokan, I feel like, sees in Jackie a little bit of herself. She's kind of like the after. And, Jackie's so used to, she only knows one speed, like go, go, go. Like if she's ready, she's ready. If you don't catch up, I'm done. I'm moving on. And whereas, other than help her train, she also made her slow down and think before she does something. In other words, I feel like Jackie's very reactionary.
Yeah.
Was that all in the script, or did you guys have an opportunity to talk a little bit about how these two women intersect?
It was written in the screenplay, some of it, but anytime you get two actors together, what I like to do, what I feel like I did for these actors was I left them space to create and to bring their ideas about who the character was to the film. Those are the environments as an actor that I like to work best in, when directors give me space and allow my interpretation to have some weight. And so, yes, I spent a lot of time talking with Sheila about these two characters and trying to understand her point of view and her mind, and figuring out how we could together tell this story of these two complicated characters, because Buddha Khan is more evolved in so many ways, but what's clear by the end of the movie is that she's sort of hanging on to her sobriety. She is also battling her demons and her brokenness, and I think we all are. Truthfully, we are all battling our scars and our demons from our growing. Nobody escapes childhood unscathed. You know what I mean? Everybody has some baggage they bring with them into their adult life from childhood. And these two characters find a beautiful way to sort of work that out together.
100%. And I also love that even though the men are in this movie, right, they're not necessarily the facilitators of her growth, of her winning. Again, was that something that, and also you have to be comfortable. I always thought it was amazing that the men decided, hey, we're going to still be a part of this, right, and let the women lead. How did you go about finding your additional cast members? Because, some men are not too comfortable about being the background dancers.
True. But the men that I talked to about this were fully in support of this very female-driven film with females in the lead from a female gaze. If they didn't have that point of view, I venture to say I wouldn't have allowed them to be a part of this project. This was very clear what the intention of this movie was. It was filling the white space. So many times as women, our stories have been told through the eyes of men. They've been written. Our personalities and our character traits have been written by men. And I can tell you, I often watch movies and I think, but it's not really what a woman would do. I wouldn't handle it like that. I've been in films where I've been starring and I've had to fight for my right as a woman to say it and see it differently and say, but I wouldn't really do this. I would come from another perspective, or I would do it another way. So it was really important that I find men, and there are some great men out there that really wanted to support this very female-driven movie. And I say that Shamir Anderson, Stephen McKinley, Bow Down, and Aiden Canto, who played Desi. He really had to accept the role he was playing, and he was down to do it. He didn't judge Desi either. He accepted Desi's brokenness and everything Desi was, and brought everything he had to the page in that character, because those men were in support of this story.
A little bit about your career, because contrary to popular opinion, you've done more than play pretty. I mean, you started your career off as a crackhead, and listen, it takes a lot of chutzpah to say, I'm going to be really in, because she was out there, right? I think we may not have known your name as an actor, but we remember the character. You as Dorothy Dandridge, which was awesome. You tap dance, and a lot of people don't know that you did all of those things yourself. And even in Monsters Ball, you haven't, when given the opportunity, been afraid not to play pretty. And I feel like sometimes when someone is very pretty, they don't think that you are willing to peel back the layers. What is it about that you enjoyed more, and what would you like to do more, where you get to play someone that isn't necessarily someone that people think you are, or put you in that box?
That's sort of been the struggle of my whole career. I started off, stripping myself down, showing that I was an actor. I'd been working, and then I wanted to be taken seriously. But I've spent my entire career continuing to convince people, even though I started that way, convince people that I should be allowed to play those parts. And it's been a real struggle. And one of the reasons I wanted to play Jackie Justice is because I love when I get to play those characters that peel back the layers, and I get to be exposed and vulnerable and not rely on my physical self in the sense of it being pretty. But our bodies as actors are our only instrument. So it's very important to the process, but I've always wanted to prove that I'm more than this face, I'm more than this shell that I'm walking around in. But it's been really hard for me to convince other people. Like all of the roles you just mentioned, I had to fight really hard to get the filmmakers, the producers to see me in the role. And sometimes I win that battle, and many times I lose that battle because they think, well, it can't be you, it can't be you. And it's been very, it's been a hard pill for me to swallow, and I've tried to swallow it bitter and spit it sweet and not become negative about it and just keep in my way, you know, putting one foot in front of the other and keep trying to find those roles that give me a chance to show more of who I am as an artist.
I will say, like in John Wick, even though that wasn't necessarily your vehicle, but the space that you occupied. You know, this woman was strong and she was sexy and she was intelligent and she didn't take any mess. And the action scenes were fabulous. And one of the things I love about you is that you've always been very an advocate about fitness. Like you walk the talk. Like you're not like, you know, drink this tea or whatever. You're like doing the work and you're very hands-on. How much do you enjoy doing those roles? Because it looked like you had a lot of fun in John Wick.
I love it. You know, I was a gymnast as a kid. So when I get to step back into that skin, nothing makes me happier. And, you know, as an actor, it's so great to be able to really fully portray a character. And when it's an action movie, for me to do that, you know, the drama and then step aside and let a stunt woman come in and do the action, there's a real disconnect, I think, between me and the character when that has to happen. So the more I get to do all of the action myself, the better I think it is for the portrayal of the character. And I'm always up for the challenge, always. But when you do your own stunts, you're bound to get hurt. That's par for the course, because stunt people get hurt all the time. But when you're an actor and you do your own stunts, you also have to be, you know, realistic and realize getting hurt is part of it.
Absolutely. And we got to talk about two iconic roles last. B.a.p.s, which Halloween, you're like remembered, right? And people love that film, right?
Yeah.
And it also shows that can be a funny girl. And then Catwoman, which is another one where everybody now is rediscovering, showing you love via the Twitterverse. And also all the girls want to be not just Catwoman, but your Catwoman for Halloween. So you know, you have a whole new generation of young girls that are like, no, I'm going to be Halle or B.a.p.s. Talk about these two things that, you know, you kind of like did before, you know, and people weren't quite sure what that was, but
yeah,
you're giving you your props.
Well, the truth is, you know, art is so subjective, you know, and it's really nice to have a whole generation of people who weren't around when the Catwoman first came out and it got bashed the way it did. These kids now don't even really know about that. They're just seeing it for what it actually is and what it was meant to be. And so the fact that they're embracing it really does make me feel really good, sort of vindicated in a way, you know, and I really appreciate that it's having this sort of second life. And when I meet people on the street, those are the two movies that most people talk to me about. So, I mean, it had to have resonated in some way with the people. And I think we really make movies for the people. So that's always the highest compliment.
Absolutely. And I wish you, again, amazing things.
Thank you.
Happy New Year, many blessings, and please stay safe.
Thank you. Same to you.